Ethan knew something had shifted the moment Olivia said the word husband. The sound of it did not match the warmth between them. They were sitting in a small coffee shop in downtown Chicago, close enough to hear each other breathe, and yet that single word felt like a wall rising between their chairs. He had been smiling seconds before. She had been smiling too. It had felt easy, natural, almost dangerous in how right it felt. Then she said it. "My husband travels a lot." She said it lightly, almost playfully, as if testing him. Ethan laughed at first. He thought she was teasing him for staring at her a second too long. He thought maybe she was warning him not to fall too fast. But her eyes did not carry a joke. They carried truth, quiet and heavy. "You're serious?" he asked. She nodded. 7 years, she told him. 7 years married? Ethan felt his chest tighten. 7 years was not a mistake. It was a life built in seasons. Holidays, anniversaries, shared furniture, shared silence. And suddenly, all the small memories he had created with her over the last few weeks felt fragile, like something borrowed. They had met at a charity event. He had just moved from Boston, trying to escape the echo of a breakup that left him tired and guarded. He was not looking for anyone. He had promised himself he would focus on work, on building something stable. But Olivia had been at the welcome table that night, wearing a simple navy dress and a smile that did not feel fake. She looked at him as if she actually saw him, not as a stranger passing through, but as a person worth noticing. After that night, they kept crossing paths. The city was large, but somehow they found each other in it. A bookstore one afternoon. The lakefront another morning. Each meeting felt like coincidence, but it began to feel intentional. Conversations stretched longer each time. They talked about music, about childhood dreams, about why autumn felt like the most honest season. She told him she loved old houses and handwritten letters. He told her he was afraid of wasting his life on things that did not matter. Their words felt personal too quickly, but neither of them stepped back. And now, in this coffee shop, she was telling him she had a husband. Ethan tried to stay calm. He did not want to look jealous. He did not have the right. But his heart did not care about rights. It cared about the way she leaned toward him when he spoke. It cared about how she remembered small details about him. It cared about the spark that had grown quietly without permission. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. "I didn't expect to feel anything," she said. There it was, honest and raw. She had not planned this either. He studied her face. She did not look like a woman playing games. She looked confused, torn, almost afraid of her own emotions. And that made it worse. If she had been careless, he could have walked away easily. But she looked like someone who had not felt alive in a long time. "My marriage hasn't been what I thought it would be," she said softly. It did not interrupt. It did not want to be the man who listened to another man's failures just to benefit from them. But he needed to understand what he was standing inside. "He's not cruel," she continued. "He's just gone. Even when he's home." Ethan understood distance. He had lived inside it before. A relationship where two people slowly stop reaching for each other. Where silence becomes normal. Where love turns into routine. Still, there was a difference between loneliness and permission. "I don't want to be someone's secret," he said. "You're not," she answered quickly. But the speed of her answer made him doubt it. Secrets do not announce themselves. They grow quietly in stolen moments. He looked around the coffee shop. Couples sat at other tables. A man typed on his laptop. A barista called out orders. The world continued, unaware that something fragile was forming in the corner. "My husband is coming home tomorrow," she said. The words landed hard. Tomorrow, that meant this moment was temporary. That meant whatever they were building would soon face reality. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions. Jealousy, guilt, desire, Fear? He had only known her a short time, but the connection felt older than that. It felt like something unfinished from another life. He wanted to reach for her hand and pull her closer. He wanted to ask her to choose him. But he also knew that a choice made in confusion rarely leads to peace. "Do you love him?" he asked. She did not answer right away. She stared at her cup as if searching for the word at the bottom. "I don't know what love feels like anymore," she said finally. That answer scared him more than a simple yes would have. He realized then that this was not about him stealing someone else's happiness. This was about a woman who had been slowly fading inside a marriage that looked fine. From the outside, a woman who laughed easily in public but hesitated in private. "I like you," he admitted. Her eyes softened. "More than I should." Silence fell between them again, but it was different now. It was thick with truth. They both knew they were standing on a line they should not cross, and yet neither of them moved away. She reached across the table and touched his hand. The contact was gentle, almost careful, as if asking permission without words. His body reacted before his mind did. He felt warmth travel up his arm. It had been a long time since touch felt this meaningful. "I didn't plan to meet you," she whispered. "I didn't plan to care," he replied. For a moment, the world outside the window disappeared. There was only the table, their hands, and the question neither of them dared to say out loud: what happens next? He imagined her husband arriving home, imagined a suitcase by the door, a tired smile. Maybe flowers, maybe an apology for being gone so often, maybe a promise to do better. Life is rarely simple. People do not become villains overnight. They drift. They fail quietly. "Tomorrow changes everything," he said. She nodded. "I know." But she did not pull her hand away. Ethan felt torn in a way he had never felt before. He was not a reckless man. He did not chase drama. He did not believe in building happiness on someone else's pain. Yet here he was, hoping that something in her life would shift in a way that left space for him. "Talk to him," he said finally. She looked surprised. Maybe she expected him to ask her to leave. Maybe she expected him to fight harder. But he was not interested in winning something that was not freely given. "About us?" she asked. "About you," he corrected. "About what you need." Her eyes filled with something close to tears, but she blinked them away. She was strong. He could see it. But strength does not cancel longing. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what?" "Of staying the same. Staying, and of changing everything." He understood that fear. Change is never just about two people. It touches families, friends, memories. It forces people to admit they have been unhappy. He squeezed her hand lightly. "You deserve to feel alive." The words felt dangerous the moment he said them, because he was part of what made her feel alive now. And that meant he had influence. Influence over someone else's marriage. Over someone else's future. She stood slowly, as if movement required effort. "He'll be home by morning," she said. The reality of it settled over them. This bubble would burst soon. They could not stay suspended in this almost love. Ethan stood too. He did not trust himself to sit any longer. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to ignore consequences. But he also wanted to respect the woman he claimed to care about. "Call me," he said quietly. "After you've talked." She nodded. They walked out of the coffee shop together, but not touching now. The air outside was colder, the sky darker, the city louder. It felt like the world had shifted into a more serious tone. At the corner, they stopped. This was where they would separate. She looked up at him, eyes full of questions. "If I choose to fight for my marriage, will you hate me?" He shook his head. "No. And if I don't?" He hesitated. "Just for a second, then we'll see what's real." She gave him a small, trembling smile. "I thought you were joking," he said softly, "when you said you had a husband." I wish I had been, she replied. Then she turned and walked away. Ethan watched her disappear into the crowd, feeling both relieved and empty at the same time. He had not crossed the line, not fully, but he had stepped close enough to feel its heat. Tomorrow, her husband would come home. Tomorrow, she would face the life she had built. And Ethan would wait, knowing that sometimes the most powerful love stories begin not with certainty, but with a single word that changes everything. Ethan did not expect 3 words to carry so much weight. But when Olivia texted, "He's home," it felt like the air left his lungs. He read it once, then again. Her husband was no longer an idea or a distant figure in another city. He was real. He was inside her house, sitting on the same couch where she once felt alone, sleeping in the same bed she had described as cold. Ethan stared at his phone, fighting the urge to drive to her street and simply exist nearby. He did not reply right away. He wanted to say something strong, something wise. Instead, he typed, "Are you okay?" She answered minutes later, "Can we meet?" That was enough. He grabbed his jacket and left his apartment without thinking twice. The sky over Chicago was gray and restless. Wind rushed down the streets, pushing people forward. Everything felt urgent. They chose a park near Lake Michigan, a place where the water stretched wide and honest. Olivia was already there when he arrived. She stood near a wooden bench, arms wrapped around herself as if the cold had reached her bones. She looked smaller somehow, not weak, but pressed under something heavy. "He brought flowers," she said the moment Ethan reached her. There was no hello, no smile, just that sentence. Ethan nodded slowly. He did not know what to say to that. Flowers were simple, but sometimes simple things come too late. "He asked about my week," she continued. He listened. That hurt more than the flowers. It meant her husband was trying. Trying made everything complicated. If he had been cruel or careless, the choice would have been easier. But effort changes the story. "Do you love him?" Ethan asked quietly. She looked at the lake, watching the water move in restless waves. "I used to," she said. The past tense cut through him. Used to meant something had faded. But it did not mean it was gone forever. "And now?" he asked. She shook her head. "I don't know what love feels like anymore. Is it safety? Is it habit? Is it staying because you're afraid to start over?" Her voice trembled, not dramatically, just enough to show how lost she felt. Ethan stepped closer, but kept space between them. He wanted to protect her, but he also needed to protect himself. "Love should feel like you're awake," he said, "not trapped." She closed her eyes for a moment. "When I'm with you, I feel awake." The words were direct, no hesitation, no confusion. He felt heat rise in his chest, followed quickly by guilt. He did not want to be the reason she walked away from a life she built. But he also could not ignore the connection between them. "What happened last night?" he asked. She exhaled slowly. "We had dinner. We talked about work. He said he knows he's been distant. He promised he would change." Ethan swallowed. Promises are powerful when they come at the right moment. "And how did that make you feel?" he asked. Confused, she admitted. "Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me felt angry that it took this long." That made sense. Change that comes only when something is at risk feels different. It feels forced. They began walking along the path near the water. Leaves moved across the ground. The wind grew, stronger. The world felt unsettled just like them. "He looked at me differently," she said. "Like he was scared of losing me. Are you?" Ethan asked. She stopped walking. "Am I what?" "Scared of losing him?" She thought about it, really thought about it. "Scared of losing the life I built," she said finally. "The house, the shared friends. The version of myself that tried so hard to make it work." That answer was honest. It was not about passion. It was about structure, stability. "And what about losing yourself?" Ethan asked. Her eyes met his, and something shifted in them. "I think I already did," she whispered. The wind carried her words away, but he heard them clearly. He knew then that this was bigger than him. It's bigger than attraction. She was standing at a crossroads she had avoided for years. Meeting him had only forced her to see it. "I won't be the reason you leave," he said firmly. She looked almost hurt. "You think I would leave just because of you? I think you deserve to leave only if it's what you truly want," he replied. She began pacing, hands running through her hair. "I keep thinking about last month, our anniversary." He forgot. Completely. I didn't even get angry. When I knew something was wrong with me? Why? Ethan asked. 'Cause I didn't expect anything. I had stopped hoping. That sentence stayed in the air between them. Stopped hoping. That is what kills love slowly. Not fights, not distance, the absence of hope. "Last night he remembered," she continued. "He said he wants to try again. He wants counseling. He wants to fix us." Ethan felt a sharp pain in his chest. Counseling meant effort. It meant long conversations and rebuilding trust. It meant there was still something to fight for. "Do you want that?" he asked. She hesitated. That hesitation said more than any answer. "I don't know," she said. "I don't know if I want to fix it or if I just don't want to be the one who gave up." They started walking again. Faster now. The sky darkened, threatening rain. Ethan felt time closing in on them. This was not a slow romance. It was a decision happening in real time. "When you're with him," he said carefully, "do you feel seen?" She shook her head. "When you're with me?" She looked at him, and her silence was enough. He stepped closer, close enough to feel her warmth. He wanted to touch her, but he waited. He needed this to stay clear. "I don't want to steal you," he said. "I want you to choose freely." Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "What if I choose wrong?" she whispered. "There's no safe choice," he answered. "There's only honest." And dishonest, the first drops of rain began to fall, soft and scattered. She finally reached for his hand. The contact felt electric, not because it was forbidden, but because it was fragile. This might be the last time. "For years," she said, "I tried to be patient. I told myself marriages go through phases. I told myself distance was normal. But then I met you." He held her hand tighter. "I didn't mean to change anything." "You didn't," she said. "You just showed me what I was missing." Rain fell harder now, soaking through their jackets. Neither moved. "Go home," he said gently. Her eyes widened. "You're pushing me away, giving you space to think without me standing in front of you." She searched his face for doubt. She found none. "He asks if there's someone else," she asked quietly. Ethan paused. The truth was dangerous. "Then you tell him the truth about how you feel. Not about me, about you. And if he fights for me, then you let him," Ethan said, though the words hurt. She stepped closer, almost pressing against him now. "And if I come back?" He looked into her eyes, memorizing them. "Then I'll be here." The rain blurred the world around them. People ran for cover. Cars passed with headlights glowing in the gray afternoon. But they stood still, caught in a moment that felt both right and impossible. "I thought you were joking," he said softly, almost smiling despite everything. "When you said you had a husband," she let out a breath that sounded like a broken laugh. "I wish I had been." For a second, it felt like she might kiss him. Her eyes dropped to his lips. His heart pounded, but she pulled back instead. "This is my decision," she said, "not yours." He nodded. She squeezed his hand once more, then let go. That was the hardest part. The space between their fingers growing, the warmth fading. She turned and walked away through the rain. He watched her until she disappeared beyond the trees. Every step she took felt like a question mark. Ethan stayed there long after she was gone. The rain soaked through his clothes, but he did not care. He felt exposed in a different way, vulnerable. He had opened his heart again after promising he would not. Across the city, Olivia walked toward her house with wet hair and a racing mind. The lights inside were on. Through the window, she could see her husband moving in the kitchen, waiting. She paused at the door. Inside was 7 years of history, shared holidays. Laughter that used to be easy, dreams they once planned together. Outside was uncertainty, risk, a man who made her feel awake. She touched the door handle. For the first time in a long time. She was not numb. She was terrified. She was alive. And as she stepped inside to face the man who was finally ready to fight for her, she knew one thing clearly. Whatever she decided next would change all of their lives forever.